Welcome to another episode of Fave 5 from Fans, where we explore all things favorite, whether you want to or not. I'm your host, Jamie Ray, and today we have a first time guest joining us, Snoochie Boochie David.
Well, hello, sir. How are you today?
I'm doing quite well. How about yourself?
I'm doing good. I'm just really trying not to mess this up today, because
Oh,
so we'll see.
you won't be the first, and I won't be the last, so don't worry.
But I am pretty excited about it. I've been thinking about it for several weeks now, I guess, and I
You've
put a
been
lot
thinking
of
about me?
well
Oh, you're
about
so
my
sweet.
list.
Okay,
Close
okay.
about my list. But you too, I guess, in extension, if you want to do it that way. But
Yeah, I'm gonna tell people that's what it was.
yeah, just say he was thinking about me for weeks. Uh,
Always.
just leave off the because of the podcast part.
Yeah, exactly. That's usually what I do. I skew it so it sounds good.
There you go.
And speaking of the podcast, today we are going to be talking about our Fave 5 Kevin Smith projects. Not just his movies, not just his podcast, not just his comic books, but any and everything he stuck his little New Jersey finger into. And there's a lot of it too.
It's a big pie. It's a big
It
pie.
really is. So I am super excited to find out what is on your list, compare mine, and show you why I'm so much more right than you are. I
Well, I
mean, why your favorites are great. Yeah,
yeah.
that's
We'll see. We'll see whose favorites are the best favorites. We might have a few matches on there.
yeah,
Maybe we'll have a match game. I don't know.
I think so. We're gonna find out.
We'll see.
Um, so if you're ready, I am ready to just dive right in and just talk about Kevin Smith and all his wonder and glory.
I am absolutely ready to get started on this thing.
Well, as you know how the show goes, I give you an opportunity to make a list of your five favorite things that he's ever done
Yeah.
and some honorable mentions. Usually I like to have two. So you have some for us?
I absolutely have two, and there may be another one in the locker. I
Oh,
didn't. I want, but I wanted to stick to the rules, so I only wrote
what?
down two. I only wrote down two.
Okay. Okay.
So
Well,
I'm kind of there, but we'll see if you want the third
I'll
one.
allow it. I appreciate the fact that you tried. So why don't you go ahead and give us your honorable
All
mentions?
right.
Maybe two or three.
All right. Well, I'm gonna jump in there with this one. This one almost made the top. It almost got to the top. It's one of his more different projects, I think. But that is Red State.
Oh, yeah, that is a very different one.
I love Red. I love that movie. Let me tell you. So I actually saw it in Atlanta. It was when he was touring it.
Mhm.
So a little live Q&A afterwards, and that was a really good time. It was a great experience. He sat about two rows behind me. Actually, at one point, I turned around and I saw him sitting right there, because he'll do that sometimes. But
Did you wave at him? Give him one
I,
of these.
I did. But I was really involved with what's going on. In that movie, if you haven't seen it, the first 15 minutes is very much a Kevin Smith movie. Like, it's very Kevin
Exactly.
Smithy, and you're like, this is going to be kind of the same. But when that thing takes a right turn and heads off into the woods, it
What?
is nonstop. Like,
Brilliant.
that movie is nonstop. And one of my favorite things about that movie is, you've obviously seen it. And spoiler alert, everybody out there. There's a scene at the end where it's kind of the climax of the movie. Uh, Horns from heaven start playing, and these folks think it's the rapture, and they drop their weapons and they come out and they're acting the fool. And I'm going to tell you, I was sitting in that theater, and I literally could not figure out what this was going to happen. I was like, how is he going to write out of this corner? Like, he what? And then when you get the cut,
Right.
we won't give it all away, but when you get the cut, I was like, oh my god, that is genius. Like,
It
that is
really is
it's the most genius turn I've ever. I mean, in almost any movie, like, that is a great turn, and
a
I'm
twist.
yeah, for real. That M Night Shyamalan's got nothing on that one, in my personal opinion. That's a great turn. And it really should be higher, but I wanted my list to be a little different. But that's really way up there.
Yeah.
Um, my next one is probably going to set the stage for how different my list is, because this honorable mention is Clerks, the
Oh,
granddaddy of them all, that started it all. Um, that it's a great movie. It still holds up. It's obviously the first thing he did. There's so many facts and fun facts and how he cast it and all that
I
kind of
paid
stuff.
for it.
Oh yeah, yeah, it's so deep. So even if you don't love that movie, just the behind the scenes of it and how he got it made and everything is and then even after the fact getting it shown and stuff is really really great. It's just that's a great film. A lot of cursing. I don't know if it was one of the commentaries or one of his live shows where he said, he goes, I sat in the theater when we screened it the first time, and I go, wow, there's a lot of cussing in that. I didn't realize we cussed that much. But it's a great movie. I think everybody knows this little fun fact. I know you like your fun facts, but the reason that they had to hang the banner, or the reason he wrote in there that somebody jammed gum in the locks, was because they had shutters on the front of that store, and they wouldn't shut the store for him to film. So
Right.
we had to write that in there because they filmed at night because they couldn't afford lights to put outside to make it look like it was daylight. So the problem solving that he
Brilliant.
does, the problem solving that he does, and it makes the movie like it really. And even the closing scene, when Randall wraps up the thing and throws it at him, he goes, "You're closed now." Great, just a great movie. But it is in the honorable mentions, but absolutely a fantastic movie that everybody should check.
And a truly honorable selection.
Oh yeah, absolutely. How about you? What you got?
Well, I have a couple. Well, but that's only two.
Okay, well,
Isn't there an unwritten
I do
third?
have a third. I do have a
You're gonna
third.
tease us and then not drop
All right,
it? Come
I'm
on,
gonna throw it out there. All right, so this it's not wrote down. I don't know why I'm looking at my paper. Jersey Girl catches a lot of slack.
Yes, it does.
Catches a lot of slack. But if you take that movie for what it is, and you take out all the drama that surrounded the Affleck and oh God, what's his name?
Beneflow.
Yeah, whatever they called them. If you take all that out, it's got a really good. It's got an amazing job by George Carlin. He
Mhm.
was wonderful in it. The young lady that was in it was wonderful. Just a really good movie. But it came out not long after my middle daughter was born, and my wife is not a movie fan. She's not a Kevin Smith fan, but it was like
She's
one of our.
obviously a good woman, though,
She's a
because
good woman. She's a good
looking
woman.
behind you, she's putting up
Oh
with
yeah, yeah, she's the best. Yeah, but she does keep me in this room. Hey, I'm not allowed to spill out.
I did notice a lock on the outside of the
Yeah,
door, but
it's
I wasn't
right
going to
here.
say anything.
Yeah, it's right here. But I think that was one of our first like dinner and a movie out. Well, after we had the baby, we got a babysitter or whatever, and we went and saw it. And the beginning scene again. Spoilers for all you folks out there. When she dies in childbirth, me and my wife both had just had a baby. We
Yeah.
were bawling. I'll never forget. I looked over at her and I was crying, and she was crying. I said, "Are you okay?" She goes, "I don't know if I can watch this." And
Why
then,
did you pick
I
this?
know, right? But then, of course, it turns and it gets a little more funny, and things happen. But um, I love that movie. I love the ending. I like it when he goes at the end, and Will Smith pops in, and they have the chat, and he decides that he wants, his life is perfect like it is. But it's just a really great movie. I have a fun fact for that. It has nothing to do with that movie. I have probably
Okay.
bought more copies of that movie than anybody in history.
You
Back
bought two?
I bought like 7 because back before everybody had a streaming service, people at work be like, "You got a good movie to watch?" And I would always give them that one because that's
Really?
pretty accessible, great movie, and I rarely got it back, so I'd always have to
Oh,
buy me another one. I've probably bought 6 or 7 copies of that movie.
wow. That's
I'm probably the only guy in the world, but I enjoy that. If you haven't watched it, go out and watch it. If you didn't like it, try it again. It's a fun movie. Fun movie.
yeah. Wow.
Fun movie.
This is exactly what honorable mentions are made for.
Yeah.
They really are. It is a movie that a lot of people would not have on their list of favorites.
Yeah.
Um, being honest, for reasons,
Yeah.
and that's okay,
Yeah.
because you go in to see a Kevin Smith movie, thinking it's going to be one thing, and then it's not.
There are certain
Red
expectations.
State, as far as I'm concerned, what did you mention earlier, is a great example of a movie
Yep.
that, even though you don't get what you're expecting, it's a really, really great movie.
You get a good movie.
Jersey Girl, meh, okay, but there is a lot of good stuff to it
Yep.
if you come into it not expecting a Kevin Smith thing.
It, and
So
I think part of the again, I think part of the joy of that one is me and the wife went and saw it together in the theater, and she enjoyed it. Like she
yeah,
enjoyed that movie, and typically, ironically, the people I would loan that to were mostly women. Like, have you
oh,
got any
okay.
good movie choices? Yeah, check this out. You'll like this. And I
Yeah,
never got it back, so must have been pretty
must have
good.
been pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well,
All right.
okay. So now we got your unwritten honorable
Uh,
mention.
I'm back on script.
Mine are two honorable mentions that I do have written down.
Oh,
Well,
perfect.
typed down, whatever. At some point, I do write them. My first will be for me what I think is one of the things that really, really peels back the curtain and gives us a really, really good look into the world of Kevin Smith and the people that surround him. And I am, of course, talking about Comic Book Men,
Good
the
movie.
reality
Yes, sir.
TV series that ran for 7 seasons,
Oh,
filmed at Jay and Silent Bob's secret stash
yeah.
in Red Bank, New Jersey. Um, Never had a chance to go see it. I've had a friend who went there and actually bought me something from it. So I love that. I've had an opportunity to meet almost all the guys.
Yeah.
I've never met Kevin Smith, but I met the Comic Book Men at a show before. Got a thing of Cryptozoic signed, which was
Oh,
really
yeah, 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 yeah.
and Ming ends up doing a lot of shows. And as a podcaster myself, I was so super excited when I talked to him and found out that we had the same recording device, the Pad Track 4, the Pod Track. And I was like, oh my God, I got the same thing as you do. I'm sort of a professional. But he is a really, really great guy. I'm assuming, have you met all of them?
I've met a couple of them. So a funny story about that. I used to be in my car a lot more than I am now, and I listen to a lot more podcasts. But back when it wasn't Comic Book Man, it was called Tell 'em Steve
Smart.
Dave. It
Oh,
was
yeah, Steve Dave.
Tell 'em Steve Dave, and it was Brian, who uh, Q, who is actually on oh gosh, what's the name of it? The show with all the guys, Impractical Jokers.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So he couldn't be on Comic Book Man, but then it was golly, why am I am blanking on their names.
Yeah, I was expecting more from you.
Well, I
I'm
didn't
just
have it
saying.
on my list.
I set the bar kind of high. I just,
Anyway, so I used to listen to that in the car a lot, and I felt like I knew those guys. Like
yeah,
they
really,
have a vibe about them to where I just feel like I know them. And
everyday guys.
yeah, everyday guys. And the episode where it was called Making Hay, where they go out to the flea market, and he keeps saying, "You making any hay today? You making any hay today?" I don't know if you remember that one, but
No,
I've heard that expression before, but just because of that, just for fun, I go, "You making any hay?" I'll do it sometimes, but that is a great show. You're right. That's a great call out. It's a great
yeah,
call out.
and I love the fact that it was basically two shows
Mm,
in one episode. So you
yeah,
get the part where they're actually in the store and
yep,
people are coming and buying things. And sure, there's a lot of people who say, well, that was all set up. Well, yeah, maybe a little bit
yeah,
set up, but at the same time, it was actually people coming in and selling their stuff
yep,
and other actual real people buying stuff.
yep.
So it was just cool to see that. I mean, friggin', Stan Lee pops into the store. Well, of
Yeah.
course it was set up, but it was
Of
still
course.
awesome, you
Yeah,
know?
I had George Perez on that show.
Yeah,
I had a lot of good people on that show. It's a
and
great
then you
show.
get the second part of the show, which is them sitting around doing the podcast.
Yep.
And again, anybody, any nerd guys like us have had the experience of sitting around with a bunch of other nerds just talking
Yep.
about nerd stuff. So,
Absolutely.
it really kind of gave you a very cool kind of behind the scenes part to it.
Agree. That's a
Yeah.
great. That's a great honorable mention,
Well,
sir.
thank you. I appreciate it. I've been doing this for a little while, so
Yeah, that's a great
I'm
one.
not totally sucky. No, let's not put that to a vote. My other honorable mention is his cameos on The Big Bang Theory.
That's a
Um,
great one.
yeah, I really enjoyed those. You got the one where they've got just like people who just popped into the store. You've got him sitting around playing Dungeons and Dragons with
Yeah.
what was it, Walt Chamberlain and
I'll say, was Lou Ferrigno in that one too?
maybe, yeah, I can't
Maybe
remember
so.
all the
Yeah.
guys, but you like open the door and they're just, oh,
Yeah.
Wow, you guys are all nerds too. That's awesome.
Yeah, that is a great one.
Yeah, it's a great show too. I love it. I'm in the middle of filming an episode with Jay Hall. He's leading the pack right now with 11 appearances. And oh my God, there's so many episodes, and it's so hard to pick favorites because I don't want to get off on a tangent here, but
Yeah.
you think about what is a great episode, and then when you really dig into it, you realize, oh, wait a minute, there was this really great scene,
Yep.
and the rest of the episode may not be that great. Or there was this really great cold opening,
Yep.
and then the rest of the episode was about something else. So that's been a tough one. But
Yeah.
his appearances were really awesome
The
and
one
deserved an honorable mention.
the one that springs to mind is when he calls in to Will Wheaton's podcast, and he's talking about making his movie, and he goes, "Not you, Wheaton." That's a great one. That's a good honorable mention, sir. I
Good. Well,
like
thank
it.
you.
I'm
I
loving
appreciate
it.
it. Well, I try to be honorable with my mentions, but even more important are my actual numbered lists.
Oh yeah.
And if you're ready, now that we've got the honorable stuff out of the way, not that this is dishonorable stuff, but I want to hear what your number 5 is.
I'm ready. All right.
Do
So this is seeing how I put the granddaddy of them all, Clerks, in my honorable mention. So this is when things get a little weird. But number 5, and I don't really know how to title it, but it's probably his Q&A tours or an evening with Kevin Smith.
Yes.
But
Wonderful.
I wanted to roll all those into one because it's not just the evening with Kevin Smith; it's the whole thing where he goes out and tours and Q&As. And if you've never been to one of those, it's a great time.
Yeah.
I feel like they sometimes get kind of intimate. Like, I mean, he'll tell you some stuff that you don't really expect.
Oh, goodbye.
Yeah, I know, right? He goes way too long. Sometimes only 3 or 4 people get to answer a question because he's very long-winded. But the interactions with the crowd. I mentioned when I went and saw Red State, we did a Q&A afterwards, and there was it's been years ago, but there was a young man in the audience, went up to say something, was so nervous he just couldn't get it out. He was he was a very reserved guy. Kevin Smith comes down, hugs him,
Oh,
stands with him, and it was just a really sweet moment. But I've seen a lot of those. Like, I've seen, the very first time I saw him was in 2002 at MegaCon, free. It was a free Q&A. It was real early in his Q&A experiences, and I actually got a signature afterwards and a little picture afterwards with him. But he's just so genuine in those moments, like I said. And I mean, you don't have to agree with everything he says, and you don't have to agree with everything he does, but I do think you have to recognize the fact that he's putting himself out there. He's not ashamed to tell you just about anything there is. He will answer. He will truly answer any question. I just have a lot of fond memories of either being at those or listening to those or watching those, and that is a real. If you haven't took the time, podcast world, or if you haven't took the time, it's highly recommended. Highly recommended.
and I don't think there's maybe any greater example of that. When he had his major medical issues not too long ago, that's
During it,
caused him, to lose all of this weight and really change his life. He was very open about that, like from the
very.
hospital room.
Yes, he was
And
very open. Yeah, he was.
some people will say that, he's a big narcissist. He wants everybody to be about him. I don't
I don't
see it
feel
that
that.
way at all.
I don't feel that at all. I think he's very much a this is who I am, kind of take me or leave me kind of guy. And
Yeah,
that, and
open.
yeah, and again, I don't agree with everything he says. I don't agree with everything he does,
No.
but I do think he's a super guy. I think he's very talented. I think he's super smart. His dialogue that he writes for everything is as
Oh yeah.
sharp as anything. Just a I think he's a high quality guy. I really enjoy him. Really enjoy
Yeah.
him.
No, I cannot disagree with you, sir. That is an excellent pick.
How about you? What you got down for number 5?
Well, my number 5,
My number 5.
my number 5 is actually Yoga Hosers.
Wow.
Yes, I know, right?
Wow.
It is out there,
Saw it in the
set.
theater.
Really?
Saw it in the theater.
Wow.
Me and three other people. I mean, really. Which I mean, we don't get a lot. Like 4:30 movie didn't come to my town, but
Okay.
that was a special engagement, and there was three of us in there. So yeah,
That,
yeah.
that's
Great.
incredible.
Sorry, I didn't mean to
Oh,
burst that. Go
no,
ahead.
no, no, you didn't. That's okay. But I just love the idea of the movie.
Yep.
I mean, it starts off, really kind of funny with Lily Rose Depp, Johnny Depp's daughter,
Yep.
and Harley Quinn Smith, his daughter,
Yep.
playing, these two besties in Winnipeg who
Yep.
either spend their life doing yoga or on their phones liking and not liking the real world around them, you
Yep.
know? But when these two girls who are sophomores are invited to a senior party by the school hottie, the Colleens actually undo an ancient evil long buried beneath the Manitoba earth, and we know how that works out.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's a great film. They are just two. Um, I shouldn't say it's a great film. It's a great
It's
experience,
It's a
a
great
fun
experience.
time.
It's a good
You
time.
never know what's going to come up next.
Yep.
Um, and I mean, you've got Johnny Depp in it, Adam
Yep.
Brody, Natasha Lyonne, Justin Long, Haley Joe Osment, and Kevin Smith himself, which I didn't know this until the research. He was all of the monsters.
All the monsters.
He couldn't get anybody else to do
Yeah.
it.
And one of my personal favorite people, Ralph Garman's in that.
Oh,
I
okay,
don't, I don't know
okay.
if you know. I don't know if you know Ralph Garman or not, but Ralph Garman's in that.
No, no. But I mean, Nazi supernatural sausage men? What?
I don't know. I don't know what was in the strain, but it was very, very strong.
But it's a fun movie. And Angela, I'm talking to you. When I watched Wolf Cop 2, because I love Wolf Cop, and it's a great horror movie and a great werewolf movie, and I say this because she cannot respond to me right now. Um, when I'm watching the second one, God, I don't know what happened, but I just got all of these shades of yoga hosers while watching it. And it's like, so it had to be on my list. And the fact that it's over like comic book man and stuff, yeah,
Yeah.
I hear you. I hear you. But it's my favorite, and that's where it's gonna stay.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that. That's a fun movie. That's a good time. I've
Yeah.
seen it several times. It's a good
Yeah.
time.
Me too. Me too. I mean, it's on Prime if I'm not mistaken.
I think you're right. Yeah, I think you're right.
I mean, it's a great watch, and you definitely see a lot of great potential in Harley. I mean, she has gone on to do some other projects,
Yep.
but I definitely see that she can go beyond the world of her dad's
I
movies
I
and
think so
and do
too.
other things.
Yeah, I think
And
so.
the Depp girl is also very talented, not taking
Yep.
anything from Lily Rose. But I love the fact that they're both Colleens. It's like,
Yeah. That's a great pick.
thank you.
That was not on my radar, but
Yeah.
I'm glad you mentioned it so we could talk about it because it
There you
deserves to
go.
be talked about. It deserves to
Well,
be talked
good.
about.
Well, you know what deserves to be talked about is your number four.
My number four pick. Okay. Well, unless you live under a rock, you know that Kevin Smith is a podcast king.
Yeah.
He has had a bazillion of them. I love most all of them, but
Okay.
there's one in particular that I have been riding or dying since episode one,
Okay.
and it is my ultimate favorite, and that is Hollywood Babylon.
All
That
right.
so that's the show he does with Ralph Garman.
Okay.
And they started that one off at the Smod Castle. It was a 50-seat theater out in California.
Mhm.
Ralph was a radio guy there at, I can't remember the name of the thing, but he was a radio guy in the morning. He was pretty popular around that time in that area. But him and Kevin Smith would. Have you ever listened to HBO podcasts or Hollywood
I'm
Babylon?
not sure. I've actually listened to a bunch of his podcasts at one point, um, and I don't remember because they cross over in my mind so much.
So Hollywood Babylon, it kind of started off as kind of like a Hollywood beat type situation where they would just talk about pop culture and whatever. And it's over 400 and some odd episodes. It's kind of taken on a life of its own.
Wow.
They have segments, and what was so awesome about it is all the segments have little bumper songs, and
Okay.
all the songs are written by fans and sent in.
Oh
And
no,
uh,
I don't remember this.
you
That's
don't remember
awesome.
that? So they every bumper, like there's I want to give away too much, but there's some awesome scenes in there, and there's some that people just love. And when that song comes on, you can hear the audience singing out loud, I and so I've actually been to one. They most of them are filmed in California, but they came
Okay.
to New Jersey, and they did one. It was episode 405. It was not this past June, but June before last, and it was close enough for me to get to. So I went up. I said, you know what? I'm going to go up. I really love Kevin. If he's within 300 or 400 miles of me, I go see him anyway.
Okay. Stalker.
But yeah, I know if he's within a 2 or 3 hour drive, I'm going.
Yeah.
But I had to get on a plane for this. But at the
Okay.
same time, I got to go see his theater. I got to go see Hollywood Babylon live. I got to go to Jay and Silent Bob's Secret Stash. I got to go to the Quick Stop. So it was a good time. But Hollywood Babylon, all of his podcasts are great, but that is my personal favorite, and I think it's because of the involvement of the fans. If you pick it up and just start listening to it, you probably enjoy it. But if you've been in it from the beginning,
get it.
Yeah, if you've been in it from the beginning, yeah, and you've been there as these bits build up and all these little, and when the jingles start and when people send them in, and then you can send in stuff. Like I've sent in several things, and
oh yeah,
I've sent in several things, and they'll do my thing on the podcast. So my fun fact again is kind of about me. So at episode 405,
aren't they all? Oh,
I know, right? That's because I'm a fun fact kind of guy.
You're a fun factory.
Well, they do a thing. They call it the shout outs. And if you've come particularly long distances or celebrating a special occasion, you can send in an email, and they might read it out at the beginning of the show. So I was coming from South Carolina, and so I sent in one, and they read it. And I was about 2 rows from the stage. And of course, they said, "David, are you here?" And I go, "Hell yeah, I'm here." And they go, "Oh, settle down." But well, what was funny was the very next person was from, I don't remember where they were from like, I don't know, not Denver, but somewhere out there. And they go, and Kevin Smith says, "Well, that's further than South Carolina." And I said, "Bullshit." And so after that, my interjection became a part of that episode, and they would look at me and talk to me. You can't really hear me a lot, but you can hear them talking to me and something. And so what's so hilarious is afterwards when we go do they're doing photo ops, Ralph Garman comes beelining straight to me. He goes, "Man, we had a great time busting your balls. I hope you're not mad." I was like, "Oh my God, no." I was like, that's why I did it. Like I did it because like I wanted to contribute to the show. But
right.
Great time at that particular one. There's a picture of me somewhere that you may see if you look at the thing, and I've got a jersey on. That's one of Kevin Smith's jerseys that he used for a pilot for Fox that didn't get picked up, and he auctions stuff off before the show at his theater, and the money goes to help keep the theater open. So if you see articles about how he talks about struggling to keep the theater open, he really has auctions from his own personal stuff. It's really cool.
Wow.
But
and is
anyway,
that the orange and blue one?
Yeah. Well, so yeah, it's orange and blue, and it had in the pilot, he was ironically, he was the manager of a movie theater.
No way.
So the jersey has like a tie on it that says Marmot, and it says manager, and then on the back it's got 37, but he signed it on the back into 3 for me.
Yeah.
But it's actually hanging in my hallway right now. My wife fusses every time. She says that should not be out here, but it's big. It's huge. So it's in this big case. So, but I wore it for the picture because the people sitting around me were like, "You're going to wear that for the picture, right?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I guess I will."
And we're going to include that picture in the title card for this episode.
Yeah. So,
because that's a special thing.
Yeah. But if you
could frame the restraining order next to it.
Not yet. I've strongly worded, some strongly worded documents.
Letters from his lawyers.
Yeah, but so if again the podcast world, check out Hollywood Babylon. They don't do them as frequently as they used to. Ralph's got his own thing he does now, but they still do them occasionally. But if you just go back a few and listen, it's a good time. It's a really good time.
Yeah, and just so you know, we've stretched out. We're now in the podcast universe.
Oh wow!
So yeah, we're broadcasting. Wow. Neptune, Venus. We even go to the planet of Pluto.
Not the moon.
Not the dwarf. The planet.
I feel like I run kind of long on my number 4, so I'm gonna have to give the floor over to you. It's time for
Oh,
your
okay. Well, then you're going to love my number 4 because we've already discussed it a little bit,
okay.
but I was able to hold my tongue, and it is the 1994 movie Clerks.
Woo!
Yeah.
Yes.
Mine had to
Yes.
make it a little bit further up the list. Um, Again, great film about Dante Hicks, who is not having a good day.
Nope.
He clerks in a small convenience store and is told he has to come to work on his day off. He thinks his life is a series of down endings, and this day proves to be absolutely no different. You just get to see this really wonderful cavalcade of characters like his ex-girlfriend Caitlin, his buddy Randall, who works as a clerk as the store. And if you're under a certain age, a video store is a place you used to go to get basically little boxes of streaming movie, and you could take it home and stream it at home. Anyway, um, but first and foremost, in my mind, and in a lot of people's minds, the main two characters are Jay and Silent Bob. Of course, played by Jason Mewes and the aforementioned Kevin Smith. The one fact that you didn't say, um, and I'll have to mention here is that he actually sold, if not all of it, the majority of his own comic books collection
Yep.
to pay for this movie.
Yep.
And I'm just telling you, that's commitment.
That is
That
commitment.
is believing in yourself enough to know that I'm going to do this and one day I'm going to be able to buy all of these back. And boy, howdy, did he.
Bought his own comic book store.
You know, there's just so many great things. We could literally do a whole show, and people have, about
Oh yes.
great this movie is. It's actually got so many great references in pop culture. They talk about the destruction of the Death Star, which is probably one of my absolute
It's
favorite parts
way
of
up
the
there.
entire movie. So yeah, that's going to be my number 4, and I know I'm going to get a thumbs up from you about it
Absolutely.
because it was already in your honorable mentions.
I only left it out because everybody would expect it to be in my top
They
5.
did,
So
as it should be. As it should.
anybody that knows me, so I was like, I'm going to leave it out kind of on purpose so I can make some room for some surprises.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
but
Well, good.
it's a wonderful, wonderful film. By there's no doubt about it.
It is. Well, awesome. Well, why don't you surprise us with your number 3?
Ooh, what a great segue!
I kind of bunch up them.
Clerks 3 is
Oh,
my number 3.
coming in at number 3.
Coming in at number 3 is Clerks 3. So we revisit Dante and Randall in Clerks 3. We skip part 2, that's maybe somebody else has that one, but they actually bought the convenience store and they were owning the convenience store. A lot of things that happened in both of their lives in this movie. We see Randall decide that he can make a movie better than anybody else, so he's going to make a movie, and they cleverly work in the real Clerks movie to the movie that Randall's working on, and so it's like a making of Clerks by Randall. He gets so stressed out he has a massive heart attack, and then changes his perspective on everything. But all the people come back pretty much for this one. You get a few new faces in there. I don't want to give too much away. I actually saw this one, and he was touring this one. I went to Charleston and saw this one live with Kevin. Very emotional movie. Obviously you've seen it, right?
Oh yeah.
An emotional movie. I just don't know if I want to give away. Should we give away the whole thing?
No, I think you're good because
Yeah.
I think hopefully some people are listening to this or watching it with these two faces, because they've heard the name and they've heard some things and they've seen probably the Clerks maybe and whatnot. And this is a good way to get them to come in and see it. And it's just out in the last few years too.
Yep, just a couple years. It's a real heartwarmer. It's got a lot of fun. It's got some really fun spots. It's got laugh out loud moments, and if you can watch it in a crowd, I highly recommend it because it's nothing like laughing in a crowd. There's just nothing like it.
You're right. And you know it's amazing, and you hit right on it. Is that how they're making Clerks inside of a Clerks movie,
Yep.
but they're also kind of telling the Kevin Smith story,
Yep. Yep.
with Randall's heart attack and his changing in his, the way
Yeah.
it's a very introspective film.
It's a
And
very introspective
in a
film.
lot of ways, it's more real than a lot of his other movies have been, you
It's
know?
probably closer to home than anything else. I mean,
Yeah,
it really hits you. It kind of hits you in the feels, for lack of a better word.
he does. And
I
if
don't
you
like I said.
don't know his story,
Ah,
it you go back and rewatch it, and now you're going to see all of these other things that
yeah,
you didn't realize.
yeah. But there's a lot of nuances in it. My fun fact for this one has nothing to do with me.
No, what?
But
Except for yours, which you've already mentioned. So there we go.
I'm breaking the mold. So fun fact about this one is he could afford to close the store for 2 weeks, so he paid the people who owned the store. They closed it for 2 weeks, and he was able to shoot in broad daylight, so he didn't have to.
Wow.
Yep,
Get out.
yep,
I did not know that.
yep. He was able to shut it down for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
They filmed there. I mean, they have some locations in that one too, but most of it's inside the Quick Stop. But yeah, I
Yeah.
thought that was fun. I was like, and as a side note, if you ever get to go to Quick Stop, they do have a big sign up in the window that says, "I assure you, this is where Clerks was made." Highly recommended if you haven't seen it. If you just skipped it, if you thought it was like a cash grab,
Yeah.
absolutely not a cash grab. He made this movie because he wanted to. He made it because he loved it. He probably didn't make a ton of money on it. I know he toured it. There was a crowd when I went to see it,
Yeah.
but it's a good movie, good time,
Well, that's
and
awesome.
very very heartwarming. Honestly, you don't hear that a lot from a Kevin Smith film, but very
No, you
heartwarming.
don't. You don't.
Very heartwarming.
Wow. Well, cool. That's a good one. I'm gonna have to
Yeah,
get you to send me some pictures from your Kevin Smith tours there.
I
You
will
can
do
share
that.
them with the podcast universe.
Absolutely send them to you.
All
All
right.
right. What about you? What do you got for three?
Well, my number three is also a movie we've already talked about, but it is much higher on my list than it is on
Red
yours.
State.
And I am talking about 2011's Red State.
Oh, great.
This, you've already said it, but
Yeah.
I went into to this movie literally knowing nothing about it. I saw it, and you see the poster with the girl holding the AK, and you're
Yep.
like, what is this?
That's his wife.
Yeah,
That's his
yeah.
wife. Yeah.
And then you start watching, and you're like, huh, well, I mean, it's a Kevin Smith movie. Okay,
Yeah.
Adam.
Yeah.
Oh, what the, and then you start seeing, the 5 Point Trinity Church people, and hey,
Yeah.
there's Michael Parks. Oh, damn, he's cool. Oh, there's Stephen Root. What are we seeing here? And then John Goodman
John
shows,
Goodman shows up.
and I'm like, what are we seeing here?
Yep.
And the way, after a little while, I stopped waiting for it to, I hate to say this, for it to surprise me and to come back.
Yep.
And by surprise, I mean to come back and be a Kevin Smith movie.
Yep.
At this point, I'm just watching it going, holy crap, this is cool. And then, like you said, at the end, when the holy trumpet goes off, and you're like, what is this? Is it, the rapture?
What is going on?
And this is one thing I'm never going to give away. The end, the way that they wrap it and resolve it, and the way that John Goodman just lays out what happens.
Yep.
You're like,
Magical.
oh, hell, that's cool.
So magical. There's two moments in that movie that caught me by surprise I mean, it all was, but caught me by surprise. Sure. That was the biggest one. I was just like, what is going to happen here? But there's one scene where the young man gets away and he's running and he's trying to run to the gate. And, I will spoil this one.
No, you can, yeah.
He don't make it to the gate.
No.
And I was just like, I remember gripping the sides like, oh my God, is he going to make it? And he don't make it.
No.
I was just like, oh, wow. Because if I'm not bad mistaken, I haven't seen it in a minute, but they were out front, like the cops and stuff were there. So he was running to them, and I said, well, they're going to let him go.
Yeah,
No,
you think
sir,
so,
buddy. This thing escalates like World War X.
Yeah, it's so, like, the stuff that happens with the boys with what they're doing to them and how they're doing it to them in the name of God, you know?
Yeah, it's
It's
crazy.
like, and then you're like, wait, did it work?
Yep.
What are we watching here? You
Yes.
know?
What is
It's
going on?
if you've never seen this movie because
Watch it.
it has Kevin Smith's name on it, you need to put that to the side and watch this movie.
Just
And if you've never seen this because you have no idea who Kevin Smith is, you need to watch this
you need to
movie.
watch it.
It's it's just it's a masterpiece. And there's only two reasons as to why this is not my favorite Kevin Smith project of all times. And you're gonna have to wait until we learn a little bit more about David as we stop now
Ah,
to discuss what is Old Ben 72.
old Ben 72 likes to talk about fun facts that he's a part of. I think
Yeah,
that sums me up pretty good.
you're a fun factory.
I'm a fun factory. I like to churn those fun facts out. No, man. I like Kevin Smith. I like pretty much all things nerd, as we talked about before the show started. I'm not a big horror guy.
Yeah, and
Um,
that's okay.
I remember, I think we grew up about the same time. I grew up in the mid to late '80s, and I remember watching, Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street and all this stuff. And I look back that I've got kids of my own, and I go, I can't believe my parents let me watch that because I would never. My kids are 18, 20, 31, and I wouldn't watch those movies with them now.
Yeah,
But we were watching that stuff, 8, 9, 10 years old, and I'm like, why did our parents let us do that? I guess it's true. They turned you loose, and then they didn't want to see you again until dark. It's a true
yeah,
story. And
yeah,
sometimes they don't want to see you at dark.
yeah.
But
As long as I knew you
no,
were in the house after dark.
as long as they knew you were in the house. But no, man, I just
We turned out okay though.
yes, for the most part,
Yeah,
nobody. As long as the right people aren't watching this, okay.
yeah. Whatever, for what the government can prove, we turned out just
Yeah,
fine.
yeah, we're okay. Um, I tell you, listening to you talk about some of your other things and everything, as we've been talking, I've been like churning in my head, like I kind of like to ask myself back. I hate to be a invite myself back kind of guy, but I'm like, what could I invite
We're not
myself?
even halfway through, but go
I know.
ahead.
I would love to like just be like, hey man, maybe we should do like I don't know our top 5 Star
You got
Wars
to stop
characters
me
or
using the
something.
T word though. I've
Oh
let it slide for a while, but I'm gonna start spanking you now.
no, it's not. No, Fay 5,
That's right.
Fay 5.
So
I
what?
even practiced that
Yeah. What do you put it
earlier.
on a little, post-it note up
Yeah,
there?
like Fay
Um,
5.
so obviously you're a huge Star Wars fan
I
and a
do
huge
love Star
comic
Wars.
fan. I see a
Yep.
bunch of original art back there behind you. Is that a Mike Zeck um, Punisher?
Which one do you see?
All the way to your right, the
Over here?
top black and white. Yeah.
Oh, that is a print.
Oh, okay.
But it is a Mike Zeck. Yes,
Yeah.
that is a Mike Zeck. It's a print. But I have a Punisher book. It's not nowhere I can lay my hands on it, but I have a sketchbook, and I get Punisher. I get different
Oh,
artists to do different Punishers for me.
yeah.
And he is page 1. I got him
There
to
you
do
go.
page 1. He is
As he
page
should
1.
be.
Yep. And got some pretty fun people in there. Got Larry Hama's in there.
Uh-huh.
Um, but unfortunately, before he passed away, Tom Lyle is in there.
Oh, okay.
Um, there's a lot of folks. The yard sale artist Jared Albrecht's in there.
Oh,
I got to
yeah.
plug my buddy Jared. He's
Did he do it
in
in
there.
5 minutes?
He did one pretty quick, and he's done two in there. He's done one pretty
Okay.
quick, and one probably took him a little longer.
Yeah.
But you were talking about meeting Ming Chen earlier. The first time I met Yard Sale was in Tallahassee, and that was when I saw Ming Chen as well.
Oh, really?
Yep, and
Okay.
and he had just finished his book, Hamilton versus Burr, and
Yes.
he got Ming Chen to do a little bumper for him, and he
That's
plays it.
cool.
Yeah. So I met him through Kirk Spencer. I think that's how me and you met,
Uh-huh.
was through Kirk Spencer.
Yeah.
And so I met him through Kirk Spencer, and Jared's very famous for saying the best thing that come out of his friendship with Kirk Spencer was meeting me. So, but yeah, man, I love the Punisher. I've got a pretty extensive collection, but I love Spider-Man and Batman, and I don't stray out too much, but I'm really into, and I guess we call them the Bronze Age now, but 70s, late 60s, I love 80s. I just try to have a good time with it. No,
Yeah.
but there's nothing quite like it. I know it's hard to explain. I tell people all the time, they'll say, well, how many comic books do you got? And I go, well, if I tell you, you're going to say that sounds like a lot.
Yeah.
But if I tell some of my friends who are comic book people, they go, that's all?
Yeah.
So
I've learned that the correct response is, I've got just enough, but I need a couple more.
so when I go to like, we'll go to, you go to these sales where you have, buy a bunch of that guys like, find something you need. And I'm like, didn't find anything I needed. I found a bunch of things I wanted, but nothing I needed. And if my wife happens to be there, she says he didn't need none of this stuff. He's got plenty.
They keep us straight though. They keep us straight.
I was looking to see if I had anything. I got my original arts actually on the other wall.
Oh, okay.
I was looking to see if I had anything up there I could show you that you would love. But I got some Punishers up there. I got some Batman. I got some Cully Hamner up there.
Oh, okay.
I got a Ross Andrew over there.
Ooh.
I do have a Norman Brayfogle.
Oh, yeah.
It's not a Batman.
Oh. What is it?
It is. Let me grab it. It's if you'll indulge me, I'll grab it right here. It's actually an Archie page.
Oh, cool.
I couldn't afford a Batman Norman Brayfogle, but I found this one,
yeah.
And I was like, I like Archie, and I was like, I'm gonna get that. But it's Mr. Lodge.
Yeah, I was gonna say Veronica's dad, right?
Yeah. It's a great page. But that's my Norman Brayfogle, and I got
that's cool, man.
Got a Conan page over there. Couple of Nightwings. So yeah, man. Jimmy Palmiotti's on the wall over there.
Oh, they're great.
Yeah,
they're fun.
Yeah, they're great people, man. They're super
really
great
are.
people. It was amazing for me, but not fun for him. But we were checking in at Heroes 2 years ago, and we were in the check-in line at the hotel there together.
Yeah.
And so he got an earful. But he seemed like he was enjoying it. But I didn't let him go. And actually, Cully Hamner was right behind him, who I've known for years.
Really?
Yeah, he used to live in Atlanta, and I used to go to Dragon Con a lot in the 90s.
Oh yeah.
And so I mean, we're not buddies, but like when he sees me, he knows me still.
Yeah.
But I've got a couple things floating around that he's done too. But he's a good guy. I try to keep up with him. I try to every show he's at, I try to see him and say hello and pick up something. Yeah. But yeah, but they were right there, and unfortunately, I talked to him to death. But
you vocally handcuffed yourself to him.
Yeah, we had a good time. You know what? I'm thinking it might be time for our penultimate choices.
Our penultimates already.
Penultimates. I think it's time.
Nobody says penultimate.
Our penultimates.
Well,
and I'm looking at my number 2, and I'm pretty excited.
He said number 2. Well, you know what? Why don't you go ahead and break out your penultimate? You have to do the
penultimates.
There you go.
All right. So we're gonna take a turn, and we're gonna go Daredevil, Guardian Devil storyline.
Okay. Awesome. I was hoping you were going to go into the comic realm.
Yep. We're going to go Guardian Devil. That was Marvel Knights. That was with Joe Quesada and Jimmy Palmiotti. We just talked about him.
Mm-hmm.
If you haven't read it, the dialogue it's dialogue heavy, but he basically brought Daredevil back from nothing. Daredevil was about gone. He had been canceled, I think. He was out. They had canceled the run. It was a time when Marvel was not doing great, and they had brought in Quesada and Palmiotti, and they were doing that Marvel Knights line, and they were kind of running it and working on this book. But it's a very psychological. Have you ever read it?
Yeah.
Oh, you got to read it. So very psychological, some great visuals in it. I just reread it about a week ago. I was like, ooh, I got to read it again. That's what I'm talking about.
Sorry I made you do that.
No, it was a real chore. I hated it. Hated every minute of it. But some awesome visuals. I'm going to just spoil it. It's 20 years old now, so we're going to spoil it a little bit. I did not think anybody could make Mysterio menacing.
Yeah.
But he did. He absolutely totally made Mysterio menacing. I didn't see it coming, actually. I was like, what is going? It's kind of like Red State. I was like, what is going on in this book? I look back, and matter of fact, my copy is right there. I think that's number 2. That's signed by all 3. Kevin Smith.
Wow.
Yep, Smith, Palmiotti, and Quesada.
Well, send me that when we're finished here.
Yeah, yeah, sure. Um, but uh, anyway, got sidetracked there thinking about that. But it's a great story. Like he really delves into what kind of makes Mysterio tick and what makes Daredevil tick, and a lot of religious stuff because we know Kevin Smith was raised Catholic, so there's a lot of that stuff's in there. The artwork is a little different than what most people probably would think about from a modern standpoint.
Yeah.
Casada's got a back then he had a kind of a different. I mean, he's changed his style a little bit,
Mhm.
but I love the way he works that book. Like I said, some of the visuals are it's worth price of admission just for flipping through it. But the exposition and the dialogue is absolutely fantastic. You don't see Mysterio coming. You're kind of taken aback, and you get Doctor Strange in this book. You get Spider-Man in this book. You get Black Widow in this book. You get quite a crowd in there. But if you have not checked that out, I would strongly, strongly suggest checking it out. And that is going to be my number 2.
So before we go too far into it, when he was doing the Marvel Nights, and you say
Yep.
that it was being canceled, was this after where he had like all of the big shoulder pads and all of that stuff?
That was after all that, I think.
Oh, that was after all that.
Yeah, because this run starts the Marvel Knights Daredevil 1, so they had canceled the other run. They had canceled his long
Really?
time run. Yeah. So yeah, that was that. I'm pretty sure that was after the shoulder pads and everything. The armor look,
That
I
was
think they call
horrible.
it.
I mean,
Yeah,
no
that wasn't
offense,
good.
but
That wasn't good. But
man,
yeah,
that
he
was
really. And then after he left, I think David Mackey is the guy who took it over at
yeah. Now
issue
he's
9.
stunning.
Yeah.
Yeah,
After issue 9, he took it over. But that's really good. And he's got some other comics. We'll do some. I don't know if I'm allowed to do honorable mentions inside my thing, but
no, you are not.
okay, well I won't do it then.
No, go ahead.
But like his Spider-Man Black Cat's really good. His Green Arrow is really good.
Yeah,
His all of his stuff, his Omni Press stuff is good. I love some of the early Jay and Silent Bob comics. They're
oh
really
yeah,
fun. They're fun. The Clerks comic is fun. There's a Christmas special. I mean, you just can't go wrong. But
no, you
for
can't.
my money, that Guardian Devil line, I tell people all the time, they're like, if I can read, and I know there's a lot of Watchmen and all these kind of things out there, but if you're not a comic book fan, I'm like, you should read this. Like
Yeah.
it's really good. It doesn't have so much stuff that you can't understand what's going on. It's just a really good time. It's got a really good story to it.
Yeah. And of all the villains out there, you would think that Mysterio would be the one that he is not worried about at all
Nope.
because he doesn't see, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
But there's still I mean it's very clever. It's very clever.
It's a
So,
very clever. Yeah, well, Kevin, like as we talked about, smart guy, clever guy.
yeah.
A lot of really good writing in that. A lot of
Yeah,
really good writing.
for sure. For
Yeah.
sure. Great pick.
Thanks. I
Um
appreciate it.
I would actually like to continue on that line
Okay.
with my penultimate choice.
Nice.
And I am talking about the run that he did with Dynamite Comics for the Bionic Man
Oh
with
yeah.
Phil Hester,
That's a good one.
based on his never developed $6 million man script
That's right.
that
That's
he tried
absolutely
to
right.
get made into a movie, which
That's absolutely right.
should have been made into a movie, has been in developmental hell since Jesus, probably the early 90s.
At least, yeah.
Everybody and his mother has been attached to that film at one
Yeah.
point.
Yeah.
But it is a very, very well done comic book
Yeah.
that really brings I don't know, it one of the things it does, first of all, is it brings the whole Jamie um uh, character in, as his love, not
Right.
just somebody who he knew a long time ago.
Right.
You get to see, Oscar in there, and it's not quite the up and up guy that he was in the movies. I mean,
Right.
in the
In the
show.
show, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And it's just really, really a great series.
Look,
Um, and at the same time, they did do the Bionic Woman as well, and then had a crossover, and then had some really cool artwork. Phil Hester was really on point doing
yeah,
this.
absolutely.
And I can't. If you're a fan of either Kevin Smith or the Bionic series, you should definitely read these
I
comics.
agreed 100%. I think he met Phil Hester on Green Arrow, if I'm not bad
I think you're
mistaken.
right.
I think that's where he met him. But yeah, that's another great artist to him to pair with. But yeah, I don't have that whole run now that you
Uh-huh.
say that, but I think I've probably got. I think it's what 6 or 10 issues. I can't. Do you have it?
It's over 9. I know
Okay.
that. I'm almost positive of that
I've
for sure.
probably got about half of them because
Yeah.
I've picked them up several places. I don't know how I missed that one when it come out because typically I'm a Kevin Smith geek and I if I see his name on it I pick it up.
Yeah.
But for whatever reason I missed that when it was coming out, so I've been grabbing those as I see them, in boxes and whatnot, things like
Yeah.
that.
It
But
it went up till well into the 20s.
yeah, okay,
Yeah. And you got to see the Sasquatch, the bionic Bigfoot. He was in it. Um, I mean, the whole first issue just starts out so cool.
yeah,
And then it kind of follows some of the stories, but then it has some of its own stories. Um, and it really takes more of a scientific approach to it because, for example, not only do they take the bionic legs, but they also give him a spine
yeah,
that would, which is all the one things if you look at the science back then. Well, sure,
yeah,
how can you lift a car? His spine would break. Well,
right,
they fixed that, and if I'm not mistaken, they put the one bionic eye, and then they go like, well, crap, we're just going to put them both in there,
yeah,
and so it gives him, it improves, but at the same time, it definitely takes some of the humanity out of the decisions of what they did to him.
right,
And just it's just wonderful. I would tell you again, if you haven't seen it, I know it's out there. I know that they put it in trades,
yep. You can't get
so
it
you can
trades.
pick up some of those. They even did the crossover as a trade between them. Um, so definitely go out there, pick it up. And if I while we're on the subject, if you ever get the opportunity and you are a fan, there's also a $6 Million Man season 5 and a Bionic Woman season 3 comic book that is set in the 70s that takes place after the series ended and it continues on. And if you're a $6 Million or Bionic Man fan, I would definitely tell you to watch those. I mean, read those because they are really cool.
Well,
That's all I
something.
can say. They're really cool.
So
So
I remember watching those shows as a kid. I remember seeing them on TV, and like I said, I haven't read that whole run, but the ones I had read, I think the word I would use is probably it's more nuanced than the series. It gives you a lot more details.
yeah,
Like you were talking about, like they do more to him and stuff. They did a really good job on it, but I I think that that is like a lot of things Kevin does is it's something that he loved as a kid, and he just kind of likes to go back and revisit and give it his
yeah,
own little spin on it. So that's the things I do enjoy. I love seeing him do stuff like that.
yeah.
I love it. Good pick,
And
sir.
thank you. And the one cool thing too is that they bring Darren McGavin back in the very first series. He's like the head of he's the secret shadow government guy. Which if you remember the very first movie, he was in it. And then they replaced him later on with the actor who plays Oscar now, Richard Dean
Okay.
Anderson. Um, so it was very cool that they brought that back in. You could tell he was a huge fan,
Yeah.
of the
That's
show. So
fun. That's a great
anyway,
pick, sir. Great
all right.
pick.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
I am enjoying these lists.
Well, thank you. I
All
am
right.
too. That's why I'm going to ask. What is your number one? What is your favorite thing that Kevin Smith s- just produced, birth into the world?
Well, I mean, I don't know if this is going to surprise anybody or not. I feel like my list is a good mix. I've got tours, I've got podcasts, I've got comic books, I've got a movie in there. Um, you had a TV show on yours. You had Comic Book Men, but I'm going to go back to the movie. Well, I'm afraid for this one, Chasing Amy. That has got to be my absolute favorite Kevin Smith project slash movie. Anything else? It's got the. We've talked a lot about the heart of some of these films, but I think
Mhm.
that's got the most heart.
Yep.
But let me tell you something. If you do not watch the first 15 minutes of that movie and just about pee your pants laughing, something is wrong with you. A friend of mine, I haven't seen him in years because I moved for a pretty good far away from him, but Barry Allen, yes, that's his name.
Oh, okay.
That was his name. We lived in a small town in Georgia, and he's the one who actually turned me on to Kevin Smith.
Oh, okay.
Mid 90s, like 95, 96, somewhere along in there. And he's like, you haven't heard of Kevin Smith? He's a director, and he got a lot of comic book stuff in his movie. So he brought to my house, because we couldn't find Clerks.
Uh-huh.
But he found at the video store, kids out there, he found Chasing Amy and Mallrats. So we watched Mallrats, and I enjoyed it. I thought it was good. But then we watched Chasing Amy, and I've said this to a few people before, and they always look at me weird. But I'm going to say it now. You have a way of getting people to open up. So I just felt different the next day after watching that movie. Like, it just really kind of opened my eyes to and then I know it's a made-up movie, but it kind of opened my eyes to some of the struggles that some people have, and some of the things they've got going on, and the choices the choices they make, define other people's lives around them. I don't know. It's hilarious. It's absolutely hilarious in parts, but when it gets serious, it's very serious. I think the tagline for that movie was, "It doesn't matter who you love, it's how you love." I think, if I'm not bad mistaken.
Yeah, it's not who you love, it's how.
It's how you love, and
no, just it's how. Period.
Just how. Okay, yeah, how you love. Yeah,
and
how.
I know that just because of my photogenic memory.
Okay,
it's called Google.
I got a poster around here somewhere, but I don't have room in here for it, so I think it's in storage.
Yeah.
But so it's just, if you like romantic comedy, it's the most different romantic comedy you've ever seen. If you like comics, Holden and Banks or Banky or comic people, he's a tracer.
Oh man, you have just pissed off some people.
I'm just kidding. Don't trace the line around my dead body, I think is the line he gives after that. But oh my God, that movie is so good. It's just great. It's got so many wonderful moments in it, but it just really, it touches you. It touches your heart. Like, I don't know. I don't have the words to put it down, but when you get to the part where, if you're watching this or listening to this, you're not a Kevin Smith fan and you don't know this, but Silent Bob always has a moment in every film where he says something that's pretty profound.
Yeah.
This one, and then Jay and Silent Bob Reboot are probably his two where he's the most profound. And he has a very profound moment in this one. And that's where the title of the movie comes from, because there's nobody named Amy in it.
Yeah.
But
I always wondered that when I finished that movie the first time.
Yep. There's nobody named Amy, but that's who he was talking about when he says you're chasing Amy. And that was the girl he had said he lost. But just a fantastic movie. Great dialogue again. A couple of my favorite things about that one was they'd already made two movies. Of course, they made Clerks for no money. Then they got a good bit of money to make Mallrats. Then this one, they had to kind of go back the independent route to make it, because Mallrats didn't quite do at the theater what they wanted to do. So he wanted $2 million. Him and Scott Mosier wanted $2 million to make this movie, and the Weinstein Company gave them $250,000. And so they shot this movie for $250,000. So they had to do a lot of weird things. They shot it in some really crazy places. I think they're in an office building that's supposed to be a train station at one point. But they had to do a lot of things. They had to do a lot of cost cutting, but that still doesn't take away all the fun of this movie. And then Joey Lauren Adams was just wonderful in this. She has had a decent career, I think. I mean, she's been in she was in Big Daddy, I think was her biggest movie.
She was so good in that.
So good. It's a crime that she hasn't been in more things. In personal opinion, it's an absolute crime. I actually love Jason Lee. Also, he's a great talent. I'll watch anything he does. I mean, I'd watch him. I'd watch him being a dog play. I don't know. He's a good guy.
So is that a play about dogs or play with dogs?
Play with dogs. And
he's the only human?
He's the only human.
Does he play a dog or does he play a human?
He plays a human. He plays a human in it. But I would watch it.
Okay. All right.
I would watch it.
I'm down.
That's how much I like him. As I like
Yeah.
him, which I like dogs too. So I don't know.
Is it is
But
the mo- is it called A Rough Life?
it absolutely should be called A Rough Life. Or You're a Good Boy.
Oh,
But Joey Lauren Adams, she does a little song, a little number in that one. She
yeah.
actually wrote that song.
Oh,
She
really?
wrote that, and I actually have that on my. I think I downloaded. I couldn't find it on Spotify or anything, but I downloaded it from the internet, and so it pops up in my little playlist occasionally. And I'm like, oh, I love this song. So
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
great, yep, great movie. I think everybody should give it a try. It's a Kevin Smith film. It has all of his hallmarks that make him Kevin Smith, but it has a ton of heart and it's a lot of fun. Early Ben Affleck, not the
Yeah.
earliest Ben Affleck, but early Ben Affleck, early Jason Lee. Uh, One of Matt Damon's very first movie appearances, he's in there. Just a fantastic movie.
Yeah.
Fantastic. I
Yeah.
didn't tell what the plot was about. I guess maybe I should have, but
No, no, no. That's just good, just like that.
all right, good.
No, go ahead real quick because it is an interesting story,
It,
especially.
yep.
I'm glad I got you to open up, but
Ah.
especially the way that's $125, by the way, because it does tell a story that you tell it. You tell
Yeah,
it.
so it's about two guys. It's they're lifelong friends. One's a penciler, one's an inker. They have their own comic. They've just kind of hit it big. Um, so they you get a lot of comic book references, and it's all about their friend group. Um, uh, Ben Affleck's character Holden meets Joey Lawrence Adams's character Alyssa. After a convention, she's a writer and a artist as well. Meets her at a convention, just falls head over heels in love with her. Um, he thinks that she feels kind of some kind of way for him. She invites him to come to a club together where she sings this song. Holden actually is hilarious to watch because she's like, oh, she's singing this song to me, but
To me, yeah,
come to find out, she is not. She is not. She bats for the other team, however we want to put it. She is. She does not like guys, and so they pursue a friend relationship,
yeah,
and they have a very good friend relationship. But at some point, which is one of my favorite moments in movie history, is when Holden just can't take it anymore, and he just stops the car in the middle of the road, and he like, I just can't do this anymore. He goes, I just love you, and he just professes his love to her,
yeah.
and that does not go like he thinks it's gonna go.
No, it does not.
It does not go well. And one of my favorite lines is after she slams the door, and he goes, "Was it something I said?" But they do give it a shot. They do give it a try, and they're very happy until he finds out some things about her past, and he just can't let them go. And he does stupid guy stuff, and he ruins the relationship, quite
Yeah.
frankly, because he just can't be unstupid. He's just stupid. He's a stupid guy. Guys are stupid. We're all
Yeah.
stupid. We know it.
We know it.
Tell my daughters all the time, guys are stupid. Stay away from them. But anyway, it's just a great movie. It's got a lot of, yeah, like I said, it is. It really, I felt different after I watched that one.
Yeah.
And I've
It does show you things that that, and I definitely don't want to use the term normal.
No,
but there's a set universe of experiences around us, but yet there's a whole world. Well, I should say that differently. There's a world around us, but there's a whole universe out there of different experiences.
different experiences, and and again, the tagline, like you said, it's not who you love, it's how. It sums it up, and I think that applies to our everyday life. Anyway, it's my favorite Kevin Smith project of all time, and I actually told him that to his eyeballs, closely followed by quit talking bad about Jersey Girl. It's a great damn movie. I told him that
too. Wow, well, that's a great choice, man, and I love your explanation of why it is.
Thank you.
Because that's really great. No, you're welcome.
Now, I think the time has come for you to give us your number one selection.
Well, my number one selection is also a movie.
All right.
And as a matter of fact, it also has pretty much all of those people you just talked about, because I'm talking about Mallrats, which was the movie right before Chasing Amy.
Right, yeah.
Oh, we do have to throw out the fact, though, that Chasing Amy actually got a Criterion Collection release.
I've got that one, yeah.
Me too, and it's been out on on Laserdisc as a Criterion,
Yep.
on DVD, and I think on Blu-ray now.
Yep.
So I mean that goes to tell you what other people outside of the Smith universe think about that movie.
I have sat in this spot right here, bagging and boarding and sorting comic books to put them in all those boxes where it's over there, and I've sat right here and listened to that commentary multiple times. Like I'll just pop it right into Drive and listen to it. It's a great commentary. Yeah.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. But anyway, so back to Mallrats. There's nothing about this movie that I don't think is top tier Kevin Smith. View Askew, it's all in one juicy little nugget. The okay, you got Shannon Doherty first of all, as Renee, Jeremy London as T.S. Quint, Jason Lee again, Brody. You get Ben Affleck as Shannon, different, but still
the casual male.
Yeah. Michael Rooker.
Oh yeah. Would you like some chocolate covered pretzel?
And you have Silent Bob and Jay in there. You do have Joey Lauren Adams, but as a different character, which threw me when I saw Chasing Amy, because I'm thinking, but anyway. And then Claire Forlani as Brandy.
I forgot about her.
The best, yes, I used the word best. The most incredible cameo by Stan Lee of all times.
Yep, I agree.
Talking about the Thing's junk. God bless that man. And I will tell you that Stan Lee agrees with me in this choice, because in Captain Marvel, he's reading the Mallrats script when he does his cameo in that one.
That is a great call out. Yep, he sure is.
So, do you think Stan Lee's wrong? No, he's not.
I remember that sidetrack just for a second. That Captain Marvel scene when she's on that train and she goes up to him and they smile at each other and he's it just warmed my heart. It just
really did.
What a great moment. I don't know who wrote that. I'm sorry, whoever you are, but man, what a great moment.
Yeah. And there's a lot of things about that Captain Marvel movie that tended to rub me the wrong way when I first watched it and a little bit afterwards in the theater. I have come to really understand and appreciate so much more about what that movie is saying. But that scene is silver screen perfection. Just the exchange that they have and the looks that say everything.
Agree.
And the fact that you look down and you see the Mallrats and you're like, oh my God, it's the Mallrats script.
He's on his way to do it right now.
Yeah.
Great movie. Yeah. Great moment. But and then what does he tell after he goes and sees him? He goes, I think your friend's got a problem with superhero section. I have to invoke Barry again. I'll never forget us watching these two movies together, because we watched them at the same night, and we watched Mallrats and I enjoyed it. And it's funny you should say it, because right as he goes to put in Chasing Amy, goes, now don't be confused. There's a lot of the same people, but they're different characters. And I go, okay, I think I can work that out. But it was a lot of the same people. It was really funny.
And some of them were the same, which made it.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
The whole Shaun of the Dead series, 3 movies, same actors, completely different characters. That was kind of easier to understand because they were completely different characters. In this one, you've got some of the people as some of the same, and some of the people as the same type of person, but completely different. Jason Lee, completely different in this movie.
Completely different in this movie.
You wanted to punch him really, really bad in this movie. But it's such a fun film, and I think that God bless her soul, Shannon Doherty, has passed on from us, but her and Jeremy London just make a couple that you understand why it's so hard
Yeah.
for them to be together,
Yeah.
because he wants it all
Yeah.
in that, he wants to stay in the room and stay with the comics and have the girl, and she wants to have an adult relationship and
Yeah.
to kind of move on. But he's got all of these other people in and around his life who are trying to put their thoughts on what he should be and what he should do.
Yeah.
Um, and then you've got people like Ethan Suplee who just cannot see the
Oh
set.
my gosh.
You
He's
know,
so funny.
I met him at a show here in Lafayette before. Um, and I waited in line. It wasn't long, but I just waited in line. And I told him, I said, I love what you did. Everywhere I've loved, my name is Earl and all of that stuff.
Oh yeah.
But those scenes in Mallrats, they just crack me up because I know it's hard to see that stuff sometimes.
Yep.
You're trying, and when he loses it, oh my God, that's just so
Oh
funny.
yeah. It is hilarious. I'm gonna call back to one of your shows. You did a on the Fave 5 from fans favorite road trip movies.
Oh,
Um
with
y'all,
Tiffany. Yeah.
yeah, you guys called out Almost Famous. Jason Lee is in that.
Yeah.
And so when I was listening to that, we were talking, kind of prepping this, and I go, "Oh, it's Jason Lee movie," and I love that film. I haven't seen that in a while, but when you talk about Shipley, like I said, Jason Lee's one of those people. I watch him in anything, but
Yeah.
he's good in that, and he's great in this movie. Like he's good, but he's got one real wide range. I think
He does. He does.
He's fun.
But for me, My Name is Earl. That was one of the sitcoms that I watched every week. It was
Religiously.
so awesome because he was such a good guy.
Yep.
He wasn't very smart,
Nope.
but he had the heart and soul of someone who really, really wanted to do good and to make a change in the
Wanted to
world.
make a change in his life.
God, and I love that show. Crabman. Oh my God.
He's hilarious.
Oh my God.
I hate.
What? Go ahead.
I was gonna say I hate the way they ended that. Ended it where like I was like, oh my God, what's gonna happen next? Oh.
Yeah, such a good show.
I think one of my favorite. We're getting off a tangent. One of my favorite episodes is when he meets the girl at college, like the teacher, and she's like so invested in his thing, and she gets him to come and speak to her class.
Yeah.
And he kind of falls in love with her, but he forgot to put the bus sign up, and all this stuff starts happening. And he goes, I can fight through this. I can fight through this. And then stuff starts happening. And he goes, karma's coming after you, so I got to leave you because I got to do my list. Oh man, great movie. Great show.
Yeah.
Great show.
He really believed in karma.
He certainly did. Certainly did.
So awesome. Wow. Well, this has been a great episode. You really brought it, sir.
I've enjoyed the heck out of this.
I knew when the long box guys told me that you were, and well, Kevin told me. I think he's Kirk. He's the one that kind of hooked us. Again, best thing about knowing Kirk is meeting you.
Meeting me. That's what Yard Sale says.
We need to make shirts.
Kirk should have a shirt that says "Meet me to meet Dave."
Meet me and you get Dave.
Yeah, that's right.
We are actually working on an episode ourselves together. So that's
you and Kirk?
Yeah. He's got a broadcast from the woods.
Oh yeah, down in Putney. Yeah,
that's it.
Kurt's a good fella, man. He's a good guy. He's a real good
big
guy.
Ron Powell. I've known him for a long, long time because of the friendly neighborhood, space night there, Rom.
Yeah.
But cool guy. So, well, I think this concludes our countdown of our favorite Kevin Smith projects. And I just want to thank you, David, for again taking the time to compile this list. I know it was so much.
It was a labor, but it was a labor of love.
Yeah,
labor of love.
Thanks.
Labor of love.
Appreciate you. And we're gonna have to pick on our next topic because we will definitely.
Yeah, I'd love to do it again.
Right. And to all of you out there in the podcast universe, we know that you have a choice in podcasts, and we appreciate the fact that you chose us because you really, really love us. And we thank you for taking the time, and we hope you had a fantastic time, just like we did. Fantastic.
There we go. I love it.
If you enjoyed it, we'd be eternally grateful if you would share with us a 5-star review on whatever your favorite podcast app is. so that other people can learn about us and know that your support is invaluable to us. And you know what? Even if it didn't quite hit the mark for you, we'd be more than happy if you would, fib a little bit and leave us a glowing review anyway. We are okay with the karmic implications of that. We encourage you to engage with us on social media platforms like Twitter X, the Gram, or Blue Sky now, because I am hip. Let's keep the conversation going and make this podcast community even more vibrant and exciting. Thank you for being a part of our journey, and we can't wait to share more content to thrill and excite you in the future. Stay tuned for more Fave 5 from Fan adventures. And remember, folks, it may not be the best, it may not be the most popular, but if it's your favorite, then it's good enough for us. Thank you for joining us. David, take us out of here.
I'm not even supposed to be here today.
Snoochie Moochie.